Mrs. Dibie's class. It's Mrs. Belatesh, and it is great to be with you today. We're going to start by talking a little bit about water and why water has those great little raindrop shapes. Now, I have a great big drop of water on the board here, and the reason water has this shape is that there's two things happening to this water drop. Number one, gravity is pulling the water drop down, like a raindrop being pulled to the earth. But there's something else happening with this water drop. There's something called surface tension. We saw that last week when we saw the bead of the water on top of the wax paper. So the surface tension, all of the water molecules in this drop of water are holding hands. They are making a nice skin on that drop of water. And that skin, those water molecules holding hands, is called surface tension. And that's why a drop of water looks like this. Gravity's pulling it down, but the water molecules are holding on tight and creating surface tension. Last week we saw that we had different materials, and different materials interact with water in different ways. Wax paper and aluminum foil, the water beads up. It does not absorb. So those materials are waterproof. The paper towel, tissues, toilet paper, all of those things absorb the water. They are not waterproof, right? Boys and girls, please get out your science notebook, and I want you to get this page, Soaking Sponges. Now, I'm going to do an experiment, and as I go along with the experiment, I want you to fill out this page. I just talked about how waxed paper is waterproof and the paper towels are absorbent. And those materials are designed to be like that so that we can use them for specific tasks. So a sponge is designed to be absorbent. And my question is, how much water can a sponge absorb? So in order to find this out, what I need to do is I need to measure how heavy this sponge is that's completely dry, then soak it in water, and then measure what it weighs afterwards. So we can do a little math problem and find out the mass of the water. So here's my sponge. Before I weigh it, before I put it on the scale, can you guys just estimate how many grams do you think that this of mass is in this sponge? Okay, I'm gonna see. I'm gonna put my sponge on this side. Doesn't really even fit in the cup. Okay, there we go. And I'm gonna put the gram pieces on the other side. So I'd say it is 9 grams. I'm gonna measure, I'm gonna look at the mass exactly. So here's 9 grams. I put the sponge in a container of water, and now it is absorbing or soaking up the water. And now I'm gonna let it kind of drip because I don't want to have excess water. I just want to have the most water that it will absorb without having excess. So the extra water that's dripping out, I don't want it in. Okay, I let the water drip, drip, drip out until there was only the water that was still in the sponge. I didn't squeeze it out. I just let the extra water drip out that was gonna be pulled by gravity. Now I'm gonna put the gram pieces on the other side. Okay, I think that is balanced. Now I'm gonna see the mass of the water. 20, 40, 60, 1. So that's the mass of the water and the sponge. But I just want to know, what was the mass of the water? How can we find that out? So this is how I would do this problem. I know the mass of the sponge and the water. I measured it. At the end, it was 61 grams. I also know the mass of just the sponge. I measured it. It was 9 grams. I can do a math problem. I can subtract the mass of the sponge from the sponge and water. And when I do that, I will get the mass of just the water. So the mass of the water is 52 grams. Okay, so let's go over the answers on this sheet. So the mass of the dry sponge was 9 grams. Make a guess. So I needed you guys to make your own guess about how much you think it would be able to soak up. The mass of the soaked sponge was 61 grams. The math problem was 61 grams minus 9 grams equals 52 grams. How many times the mass of the sponge is the mass of the water? So you have to think 9 grams, that's the mass of the sponge. 9 times what equals 52 grams? So this is not going to be exact. So can you estimate about what it might be? I said 9 times 6 because 9 times 6 is 54 and 52 is just below 54. Okay, and were you surprised by the mass of water your sponge could pick up? Why or why not? And I said no, because sponges are designed to absorb water. But you could say yes, however what you're feeling. So now we're gonna have Thanksgiving break. And during Thanksgiving break, you probably are going to be doing some cooking, maybe some baking with your parents or your brother or sister. When you're doing that, keep track. Notice how you measure things, right? You measure cups. You have a spoon of this. You have a cup of that. And then you also measure the temperature of how hot the oven is going to be if you're going to bake something. We're going to be talking about temperature and measuring things when we come back from the break. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving. I'll see you next time.